Welcome back to Wellbeing in Practice podcast, bringing you the latest in complementary, integrative, and functional medicine conversations. I'm Tanya Borowski, Head of Education here at Amrita, and your host. And today I have with me, all the way from sunny Australia, Nikki Warren. Nikki is a naturopath and CEO of NaturoBest, which is a female-led, solely focusing on female health nutraceutical company, which has been on my radar for some time. And so I was absolutely thrilled, chuffed to bits when Amrita onboarded this brand. And so I'm really, really excited to welcome Nikki to the podcast so that you can have a really good understanding of the face behind the brand and also why she started this supplement company. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So lovely to hear that accent. It's so lovely. I actually started my career in naturopathy in Australia. I was living there for 10 years and studied at, it's no longer there, but Nature Care in
Okay.
Sydney. Yeah. So
Yep, I know. Yeah. I love your accent as well.
oh,
I love the UK and Irish accent. Love
oh,
it.
bless you.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah.
So, Nikki, you have a very interesting background into sort of the evolution of your amazing brand. Could you you were diagnosed with PCOS at 27. Could you sort of give a plotted history as to what that meant for you at that age and how and then sort of really what you did with that information and what led you to starting the evolution of your amazing brand now?
So I guess it started actually when I first went on the pill. So
Okay.
I would take it right back to when I was 15. I first went on the pill, and I was on it until I was 21. And I put a lot of weight on when I was on the pill. Came off it, lost a lot of weight. Was off the pill for a long time. Went back on it again when I was 26. Gained weight like really rapidly, like I'm talking, 10 kilos like that
Right.
in a couple of months kind of thing. And I was like, this is weird. What is going on? So went off it again. And after I came off, and this is when I was 26, I must have been 26 at the time, came off. It took a year to get my period back, but that was only because I went to a naturopath. But in the meantime, I was so frustrated, and I knew that this lack of my getting my period back was related to the weight gain and the inability to lose weight. And I also had acne on my chin, so I sort of had the hallmarks of. I didn't even know what PCOS was at that stage either, but I just knew that the pill didn't agree with me. It was making me gain weight. I had acne. What's going on, kind of thing. It's
Could
done
I
this
ask why you went on the pill at that age? Was it for was it
consciously.
it was for
Yeah.
contraception? Yep. Okay.
Yep. So I was actually in a relationship at the time, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, early.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
because the pill
Well,
is
teenage
not, I mean,
pregnancy.
even though it is contraception,
Yeah,
is actually so many young women are put on it or prescribed it
yes,
for a whole variety of what I would perceive to be to regulate periods, as an example, which
yes.
we know, well, that's just a complete misnomer, which is not possible. So,
Ridiculous. I know.
yes.
I know. And in hindsight, knowing what I know now, my daughter has never gone on the pill. Like, do
No,
not go
mine
on the pill
either.
at that
No.
age. So, and perhaps that interfered with. I was only in my development stage, like perhaps that interfered, that caused some issues. That was the trigger back then. So all, that happened later on, went on it again, problems again. So I was really frustrated because I couldn't lose weight. Wasn't getting my period back. I tried everything. I went to a homeopath. I went to an acupuncturist. I went to specialist after specialist as well,
Right.
trying to get a diagnosis. What's wrong with me? I was put on metformin because I was referred to an endocrinologist.
At what age were you put on
Oh no,
metformin?
this was at 27. Yes, at
Right.
27.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So he put me on metformin. That didn't really help. it didn't bring my period back. It didn't help me lose weight. I was put on spironolactone. That didn't do anything either. And then eventually I had an ultrasound, and he just said, "You've got polycystic ovaries." So yes, so I finally had a diagnosis. And so I thought, okay, because I was a flight attendant at the time, and had been for about 7 years. And so I was due to go out that night. I was due to fly to LA. We went to LA, arrived, and I was just so eager to find out. This is in the days before we had smartphones and things and could look stuff up on Google. So, I went to the bookstore across the road, went to a bookstore and found a book. It was called the PCOS Bible or something like that, PCOS book, and it was all about diet and lifestyle, and how to cope with it, what it was.
Okay.
And I sat there all day and I read this book and took it, bought it, took it home with me. And yeah, and I think that's when I started going to the homeopathy, all of these natural things.
Yep.
And finally went to a naturopath. And I didn't even know what a naturopath was, but it was in the health food store, and it was a student naturopath, and she was looking for women with PCOS or endometriosis. She wanted to, that was her field that she was really interested
Interesting.
in. And yeah, and it was free. So I thought, okay, nothing to lose. It's a free consultation. Why not? And she said to me, okay, I'm going to give you, we went through the consultation, I'm going to give you some herbs. And I said, oh, I don't like herbal tea. And she said, oh, no, it's a liquid mix.
You'll like these even less.
Yeah. Yeah. So she gave me that, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is disgusting." I mean, I do like the taste of licorice, and at least it had licorice in there because it had the
True.
peony, and so that kind of masked it a little bit. But I was mixing it with, because I rang her up. I said, "This is disgusting. I can't even get this down." She said, "Mix it with some juice. Have a juice as a chaser, and that'll help you get it down." So I did that, and literally 3 weeks later, bang, I got my period, and I went, "Holy shit, what's this? This is amazing. I want to learn
I
more
mean,
about
that's
these herbs."
incredible, because also being a flight attendant and sort of crossing time
Yeah,
zones and time, you were really
ab-
up against it from your
absolutely.
body. So that is tantamount.
100%.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? I
Yeah.
was blown away. And then the acne started to disappear. And then I started to lose weight. And I thought, wow, holy, like, what are these things? And then I decided to study naturopathy because I was just so wowed by it. So I started
Right.
while I was flying, doing correspondence. Yeah. And then we became a herbalist as well. So yeah, that's what sparked it. But I hadn't realized because I stayed on the herbs. Then I met my daughter's father,
Yeah.
and he fell pregnant like that. Like all of a sudden, I was pregnant. Oh no! So that was a bit of a whoopsie. But I was thinking that I might not never be able to have a baby.
And were you
It-
told that, Nikki?
I, wa-
Interestingly, were
I
you
was.
told that?
Yeah, I was told that. But of course, I didn't know, of course, these herbs that were regulating my cycle was making me more fertile. I didn't really understand,
The
really.
action of them, which
Yeah,
we will go
yeah,
back and we'll talk about those in a moment. But
yeah.
I just I don't want to, I'd like to sort of, I don't want to wash over that. I'm interested in, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners are as well, in terms of, did you feel that once you'd received the diagnosis that there was, that A, were you explained what that actually meant, and how was it delivered in a way of what this meant for you in terms of your fertility and sort of your reproductive health, which is actually a term I
I,
hate, but
yeah, I don't think I went back to the doctor because the doctors were really strange. They were saying, "Why do you want your period? Do you want to have a baby?" And I said, "No, I want to be a woman. I want to have my period back. It's not
well,
normal."
that was
And
very
I know,
insightful at
yeah,
that age, because we take it at that age. I mean, certainly when I was 28, I wouldn't have had this, but you're absolutely right. But it's it's not really presented in the mainstream, the menstrual cycle. It is more now.
mm,
But then it really wasn't. The menstrual cycle wasn't presented as a health giving natural process that a woman needs,
mm.
was it?
No, it wasn't, but I just knew, you instinctively know your
Yes.
body. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just knew that the main thing that was bothering me at the time was the weight gain and not being able to lose weight. And I just knew that the two were linked.
Yes.
And how do I explain that now? I don't know. But I always used to, even when I started having the regular cycles, I would always put on a couple of kilos before my period, like in the week before my period, fluid retention. And then on the day of my period, I'd lose this weight. And so that in my mind, it was just this thing, but I'm talking about 10 kilos here that I just couldn't.
Wow.
It was a lot. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I was carrying that way, and it was just making me depressed, because I just couldn't shift it no matter what I did, and so it was really distressing at the time, and it's probably the stress was probably making it worse as well. But yeah, so and as soon as I got my period back, I started losing weight. It was definitely linked. So yeah,
Incredible.
and that's why, yeah, I studied it, and it was really good timing that I was studying that, because then that was a segue into once I found out that I was pregnant, the segue into another career, because I knew I wasn't going to go back and be a flight attendant and leave my baby. So yeah, so
Yeah,
that was, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Gosh, we have very many, not that I have PCOS, but yes, I moved into naturopathy when I had my when I had my daughter as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, and
Yeah.
there's just it's a time in a woman's life, I feel, that there when change happens, because we look the
Mm.
same. Well, but people feel that we're the same person, but there is a change in our thinking, and in sort of, and in our soul, about how we want to progress at this stage of our life. And I think it's quite a common change of career time, so it's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So the herbs part, you mentioned two herbs, and there are a couple of others that are in your that were highly effective for for reducing, if we like, the symptoms of PCOS. So, and you mentioned white peony and glycerizer, otherwise known as licorice. Um, and there's also in your formula, which is amazing, called Skin and Cycle. We also have nettle. So a lot of these are what we call anti-androgenic, which is, and then there's a inositol as well, which is great for helping to sensitize the cells to insulin, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. And also gymnema as well.
Yes, of
So
course.
gymnema is an Ayurvedic herb, which is known as a sugar destroyer. So if you took the liquid herb of gymnema and
Yeah.
then you ate some chocolate or something sweet, you wouldn't even taste the sugar in the chocolate or the biscuit or whatever it is that you're having. It's amazing. It's amazing to have that. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had
I
the
didn't
liquid.
know that. No, that's
Yes,
a wonderful
it's phenomenal.
wonderful nugget.
Yeah, yeah. And it contains gymnemic acids, and that actually helps prevent the sugar from uptaking into the intestinal cells. So it actually blocks those receptors so that you can't actually absorb the sugar into your system. And yeah, and it actually can regenerate beta cells in your pancreas as well. So it's an amazing herb.
The joy of herbs. They're so multifaceted, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I take a lot of herbs now. Well, I take a lot of my range that
Of
I've
course you
got.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I just can't survive without them. Yeah,
So
they're
was
amazing.
this your, I presume, but I don't know, was this your first product?
No, actually, my first
Hmm.
product was actually yeah. So this is another story with
Let's
trying
have
X in
it.
one. Yes,
Yeah.
so fast forward and a few years, and I'd actually met my husband, and well, actually, we already knew each other. We just decided later on to go from friends to marrying each other. He lived in Australia. I was in New Zealand at the time because I'd had Taylor. Taylor was 6 years old, and we were both single. We were both finally single, and we caught up one year when he came over to visit his parents in New Zealand, and we hooked up, and I moved over to Australia to be with him. I had actually
Oh,
lived Australia years before that because my dad lives here and I've lived with him. So yeah, so it was natural for me to come back because I love Australia. Yeah, and we got married. We did the whole preconception care properly. You know, I was prepared this time. I was planning a pregnancy. We did it properly. Yeah, with my son, I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to go through this morning sickness again that I did with Taylor, which was
So
horrendous.
was you we haven't so the morning sickness you've written you write that on your website, but it was awful, was
Yeah.
it?
Well, I guess, I was a flight attendant, so that probably didn't help. Working through the night, doing shift work and you've got morning sickness.
No.
So
And
it was
was
pretty
it
bad.
throughout the whole pregnancy, Nikki, or was
It
it for
actually wasn't. No,
it was
it ended at 14 weeks. So I was
yeah.
lucky there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was just
Okay.
vomiting day, that sort of thing. So yeah, so by this time I'd actually I was studying again. I was doing my Bachelor of Health Science
Right.
at this when I moved over here. And we did one of the subjects was evidence-based medicine, and I decided to study morning sickness. And I learned that iron supplements can actually make the morning sickness worse.
Yeah.
And of course, I knew about B6 and ginger anyway for the morning sickness. But I thought, okay, so this time I'm actually going to create my own supplement for myself and have it made at a compounding pharmacy. And let's just see
Amazing.
how it works. So that was the trimester 1 formula that I designed back then. I used myself as a guinea pig with the compounding pharmacy. Then, because I had a clinic then, so I was treating this with my son. So I was treating lots of women, and I gave them the same formula, and it worked really well for them as well. And I thought, I was just in the shower one day, and I thought, I've got to take this to the market. Nobody else has done this before. They've never actually had a separate formula for trimester 1 from the rest of the pregnancy, which is different because then you need the iron later on. And, so yeah, so that's how NaturoBest was born. And I launched that when Phoenix was 1. So yeah, so I sort
You
of
are a
chipped away.
powerhouse, and it is a beautiful formulation. As you say, it doesn't have iron. It is called prenatal trimester 1, and all of those nutrients that you're it sounds graphic, but it's true that you're sucked dry of by the growing bubba is in
Yes,
there. It's got beautiful choline for brain development. It's got some lovely magnesium. It's sort of the right levels of vitamin D, chromium for blood sugar sensitizing, and of course, and other nutrients which you can look at. But yes, really, really lovely dose of ginger, which absolutely, yeah, that was a lifesaver for me with morning sickness as well. It's
yes. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so that was that. And so it was the trimester 1, trimester 2 and 3, and the preconception multis. They were the first. That was the core range.
Okay.
And then later on, I thought I want to design a PCOS formula. I really wanted to do that. And so Cycle and Skin was born. Yeah. So I had fun. I just did that off the top of my head. I didn't need to, I was like,
No, you
I'll
knew
design
that.
this formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'll find the research to back up what I'm saying. Yeah. So yeah, but that was fun, that one. Because it's also got, actually, we should have mentioned the burdock in there. Because that really,
Please carry on.
yes, because the burdock really clears your skin. And I was amazed by that because, when I was struggling with the acne, I'd gone, lots of external things, microdermabrasion, the vitamin A creams, all of these things that I'd gone
Mm,
to beauty therapists and things, and it wasn't working. And this just works from the inside out. It's a blood cleanser. It's such a lovely herb. It's antibacterial, antifungal, so that helps prevent that. How sometimes that can cause the
yes.
acne. Yeah. And what else is with burdock as well? The anti-inflammatory as well. Yeah. So it is the perfect herb for acne or any kind of inflammatory skin condition. Eczema, I use it for. Anything that anytime any person would come to me with a skin condition, burdock was my go-to. Yeah.
Really, really interesting. And yes, acne can have and does have many different causes. And as naturopaths, we are continually surveying the terrain, trying to get under the hood of what is the cause or causes in each particular client. So, I mean, yes. So there, and this formula with the addition of burdock also helps to bring in that, maybe that more that sort of dysbiotic, if there, yeah, like you said, dysbiotic component to, and supporting the biliary action, if you like, is
Yes,
really lovely. Um,
yes.
what about the Dong Quai that is
Mm,
in there? I'm interested in that with the skin and
mm,
cycle.
So Dong Quai contains phytoestrogens, but
Yep.
it also helps improve blood flow to the uterus, and it helps sort of
Ah,
bring on a period. So even if somebody hasn't got PCOS, if they've just got amenorrhea, secondary
yes.
amenorrhea for whatever reason, that's another one that I would use to help really bring it on. Yeah, yeah, that's a lovely herb, that one. It can
Nice.
actually make the bleeding a bit heavier though. So that's something to be aware of. So my daughter's actually taking the cycle and skin at the moment, not because she's got PCOS, but she has very heavy periods. And I said, look, just give this a go. It's going to make your period a bit heavier for about 3 months, but then after you get through that, then it should be better by the time. Yeah, she's tried Vitex before as well. And it just, yeah, it made her period lighter, but it didn't take away the pain. But she gets very painful periods, and this one's a really good one for dysmenorrhea as well.
Interestingly enough, does she take ginger and zinc?
I've tried to get her.
It
I've
does.
tried to get her to take
I
the
know,
Taiwan.
I
It's
know
got the
it's not
ginger.
easy, is it? It's not
Yeah,
how,
she,
yeah, it's, yeah.
yeah, she doesn't like swallowing capsules. So that's the issue. And then I've said to her, take the calcium and magnesium powder at night time as well. That will help. No, it's just so hard. And trying to get her to take iron supplements. She ended up having an iron infusion because she just won't take supplements. So yeah. Frustrating for a naturopath.
It is, but there you
Yeah.
go. So supporting that pregnancy, you do also have sort of a lactation support. Um,
Yes.
could you talk through why you felt the need for that specific for that specific formulation?
You know what? There's another story about this one.
I thought there might be.
Sorry.
I just intrinsically thought there might be. Let's have the
Yeah,
story.
not involving me though. It was involving a client. So,
Okay.
yeah, now this is a really cool story actually because my client was so she couldn't actually have a baby herself. She had to have a surrogate mother.
Okay.
Um, yeah, to do with her uterus. It was a
Yeah.
genetic. Yeah. So she had a surrogate mum, and she was given God, I forget the name of the drug to bring on the raise the prolactin,
Yeah.
bring on the yeah, botulinum or something like that. So she was given that. She was doing the whole pumping thing. This is just before the baby was due to be born, and so she was, because she wanted to be able to breastfeed her own baby. It's just that she wasn't actually having a baby, so she was actually bringing on this breast milk without being pregnant. And so anyway, so she was doing the whole pumping thing, taking this drug, and not really getting very good results. So I created that formula for her as a herbal tincture, and she said that doubled my milk because she was actually pumping it into bottles. And she said she went from 100 mils to 200 mils. And that was within a couple of weeks of taking this herbal tincture. And I went, wow, that's amazing. And that story was published in Woman's Day. So we've got a
Was
Woman's Day
it?
magazine. Yes, I'm my naturopath. And I was, yeah, so that was really cool.
Oh my God. I mean, it's so rewarding, isn't it, when you can bring uh when these, so women are really now beginning to be heard,
Yeah.
and when you actually are now, I mean, with your brand, you must be getting testimonials. Well, they're on your website, and they are, you must never ever tire of that buzz of opening that
Oh,
email and just feeling so proud of
yes.
Chuck sort of leading this forward, and the human
Yeah.
body is just so receptive to, of course it's so receptive to nature, right?
Mm, absolutely. I know. Well,
But
it's
we've kind of
frustrating.
lost sight of that. We've kind of lost
That
sight of that because we are, I talk about this quite a lot. But I don't know whether it's the same in Australia, but naturopathy has always been much more of a popular modality in Australia and New Zealand than in the UK. Although Europe, sort of like Germany, Austria, is very sort of, I would say, has very sort of has naturopathy in its soul. But in the
Mm.
UK, the sort of the functional medicine uh, term world has sort of, I feel, has overshadowed the innate sort of skill and art of herbal medicine and naturopathy. And
Mm.
actually, the human, of course, the body so so receptive to all of sort of those beautiful herbs, because as we've talked about, they are so multifaceted. They have an affinity for so many different receptors and pathways.
Yeah.
And I think, dare I say it, I feel that functional medicine has tried to more take its lead from the medical capacity. So it's very testing heavy and
Yes.
more of a tendency to sort of pigeonhole rather than
Mm.
actually rather and what you've done is sort of, your story is so much about you and then sharing that knowledge with other women and developing the brand in a really truly organic way is must be incredibly rewarding, and your daughter must be very proud.
It is very, very rewarding. Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, her friends take my supplements, but she doesn't.
No, no, that doesn't surprise me.
So, so they love it. Yeah, they
That's
love hearing.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and do you have, with that, in terms of sort of that adolescent tween demographic, is that, I mean, of the Skin and Cycle is a great formulation for that age group for sure. But
Mhm.
is there something niggling for you, that there is something that you would also like to sort of develop in that area, or do you?
I think the PMS support is another really good one for
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's got the Vitex in there and, regulating their cycle. Usually Vitex at a higher dose can lighten the cycle and reduce the pain. Didn't work for my daughter in terms of reducing the pain, but it definitely lightened her cycle. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's a better option than they go to the doctor and they get put on the pill. If I had had Vitex back when I was coming off the pill as well, to get my period back again really quickly, that would have been a really good option as well. So whenever a woman would come in to see me and she'd say, I'm planning on going off the pill soon, I would start her on Vitex the next day. The day after she stopped her last pill, Vitex the next day, and that really helps to kind of regulate the cycle, get it back sooner rather than waiting for a few months. For
great.
a normal woman coming off the pill would take 3 months, but if they've got PCOS or post pill amenorrhea, then it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you don't. So, what are your views on? Because there's definitely a thought process that Vitex can be contraindicated in PCOS because
Yeah,
it's. So, do you have
the
a?
LH.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously
don't know.
everybody is
I don't
different,
know.
but
Yeah, I
you
think
don't
everybody's
necessarily
No,
you
I
don't.
think everybody's different. Yeah, and
Okay.
you just gotta try it. It's not going to cause any harm, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Who wrote the book? Was it Susan Weed? Do you remember her? She was a famous herbalist.
No, but carry on.
No, no. You just- but she said if it doesn't work in 9 months, stop. But
Okay. I mean, great. We mean, great name as well. I mean, she was designed
yeah,
to be a
yeah,
herbalist.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess it depends as well. I didn't have high LH levels when I had PCOS, which is
There you go.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but some women do. And the best way to test that actually is if they're doing the OPK test, the urine test. If it's positive for 6 days in a row, you've probably got PCOS, because you don't obviously have an LH surge for 6 days. You've
Yes.
just elevated luteinizing hormone. So yeah.
And did you have, I mean, you've discussed that you presented with jawline acne, and did they ever test androgens in blood as well, or maybe you can't
It
remember?
wasn't until I saw the naturopath. So she started doing the
Ah,
blood. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She said, you've got an interesting profile for someone with PCOS. I don't remember exactly what, but I do remember having really high estrogen, which is
yes. Well,
interesting.
that
Yeah.
can happen, can't it? Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're not ovulating, then the progesterone is
Yeah.
what turns that down. So yeah, you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Yeah.
they
So
could be tonically
that
hot.
was
Yeah,
sky high. Yeah.
yeah.
I think FSH and LH was normal from memory. I didn't have high prolactin.
No.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. And yeah, it was more symptomatic. It was more the acne, yeah, on the chin, and yeah, um,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, an
like
amazing success story, and we are, Amrita, we are absolutely thrilled that you didn't stay in aviation. Um,
oh my,
yeah, and also, that's something else we have in common. I was a flight attendant as well. Yeah, I
oh
was for British Caledonian.
wow,
Yeah, which some younger people will think, I don't know who that is, but yeah. But we are very, very delighted that you came out of the travel industry and chose to come into natural medicine and naturopathy.
yeah,
And we really sort of look forward to continuing to partner with you. And you're coming over to the UK, so we will
and
be sort of planning sort of other little ventures together, which is great. Um, and yeah, thank you, Nikki, for just doing what you do and pioneering. And I know that you never sit on you don't just sit still. I'm sure that there are lots of other exciting formulations on their way, and when that happens, we will bring you back on the podcast, and you can explain them and share your passion with those, because
oh,
yeah.
you know what? I've got to share this with you because this is phenomenal. Just
Go
with the test.
on. Yeah.
So we released a product 2 days ago, Ultimate Libido and Hormone Support. So that's coming to the UK soon. Um,
Oh,
So my favorite fertility herb is tribulus,
yeah.
and I've mixed that with Damiana. But it's mostly aimed at just supporting the testosterone actually in men and women for libido, for that side of things, and also in perimenopausal women, because they're
Yes.
tanks as well. We need that energy. So kind of self-serving that this product was designed for myself. But so we sent away, I imported the tribulus from Bulgaria, because Bulgaria is the only place in the world that you can grow it and get the active constituents, which is furostanol saponins, and get that kind of quality. And when we sent it away for testing, because it was supposed to contain 60% furostanol saponins, we sent it away for testing and it came back at 100%. And so that is the constituent that raises your testosterone. So so exciting. So I've only just started it. Yeah, and I will let you
That
know how
is so
that one.
exciting, because
It's
the
so
whole
exciting.
testosterone, testosterone availability as a menopause treatment therapy is very hit and miss as to whether women are prescribed it.
Yeah.
They're often prescribed sort of male doses,
Mm,
or they're given the male formulation and then asked to sort of titrate it, and that's really messy
yeah.
because it's not designed for at a woman's physiological dose. So this is a really fantastic addition to your line. So what's it actually called?
It's called Ultimate Libido and Hormone Support.
Okay, guys, you've heard it here. It's coming your
Yes.
way. It's on its way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very excited. I've been waiting for this one for ages. I designed it at the beginning of last year and I finally got it out. So yeah, very exciting.
Thank you. Nikki, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's late with you now, so I'm going to let you go. And I look forward to seeing you in London and bringing you back on the podcast towards the end of the year as well. So thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.